She also attended the dinner with President Xi on Wednesday night. I would like to just say, gosh, it's a huge trading partner. It's 1.5 billion people that we want to sell to. They seem nice. He was smiling. He seems friendly. Can we do trust but verify, Wendy? Does that work in this case? Or should we just take it for what it is? They need things from us, and the minute we turn our back, we could be, it could be another spy balloon or another military base off Cuba. I mean, what should we do? Are we suckers?
Well, look, I think both leaders achieved a goal in stabilizing the bilateral relationship this week. Deliverables were achieved, particularly for the United States, with respect to China restricting exports of ingredients for fentanyl and resuming military dialogue. With respect to the economic agenda, though, not much was achieved on the surface, and a lot of that is going now to devolve to the working groups led by Secretary Yellen and Secretary Raimondo. And time will tell whether China's really interested in removing barriers to investment and to trade in China, and whether they're interested in creating a better business environment and competing on a fair and level playing field. We don't know. But it's not something we need to be very clear-eyed going forward.
Yeah, I guess that's but no Edith Piaf, no rose-colored glasses. I don't think. It's just when President Xi says the planet is big enough, for both countries, I want to believe that badly. I do, but I don't think I believe it. I think China still has designs on changing the world order in its favor. And I think we both countries might still be around, but one country might have its foot on the throat of the other country if they have their way.
Exactly. And I sat through that dinner. I listened to the speech with Xi Jinping saying China's not a threat, China's peaceful, China's not seeking a hot war or a cold war. It's hard to take that all seriously when you look at their actions in the Taiwan Straits and the South China Sea, as well as with respect to technology theft. Again, it's in our interest, large economy. We are going to have to live with each other in the world. So we need to find ways to manage this relationship. And if there are areas we can cooperate, let's go forward and do it. But let's, again, be very clear-eyed and not have unrealistic expectations.
If it was China was in the position it was, let's say, 5 years ago, would it have been different, do you think? Was President Xi in a different position because of the economic conditions in his country right now?
Yeah, I think Xi entered this summit week in a weaker economic position. And as a result, he seemed to be much more forthcoming with respect to U.S. requests. He also set a very different tone about the relationship. And it will be interesting to see how everyone working below him, which is, 1.4 billion people now, are going to interpret the new tone that he set for the relationship.
You've seen, this is a total left field, Wendy, and you can just say move on if you want, but social media is a cesspool, and it doesn't need anyone, making it worse. Is it possible China, with TikTok, actually is orchestrating some of the, I don't know where our youth get some of these ideas, whether it's bin Laden, whatever you want to talk about, the bin Laden letter. But is that a concerted effort from the CCP to try to influence our youth in this country? Would you go that far as to say that?
I'm not going to go that far, but I will say that China has been instrumental in disseminating misinformation, whether it be with respect to campaigns, whether it be respect to COVID origins and accusing the United States of instigating COVID.
Why wouldn't they? If you do want to, if you don't want an outright hot war or whatever, wouldn't you start with something like that? We always thought they would. That's when we think about communists and what they do. We always think that's the way they're going to do it. So why wouldn't they be? Are we naive again?
President Biden raises these concerns, and if indeed this will be a test going forward, whether some of that rhetoric and misinformation now moves to the background as she tries to stabilize and manage the U.S.-China relationship.
In the fentanyl issue, you said that was one of the positives that came out of it. Some people are cynical about what we did get, and that's not going to do it. I've seen it characterized as rounding up the usual suspects and sort of nodding like, yeah, we're going to do something. Is it better? Is it more substantive this time?
Based on the conversations I've had, yes. Not only has China already taken measures to stop, to instruct companies not to export these 51 chemicals that are used for the manufacture of fentanyl, but they've also established a working group for ongoing communication between our law enforcement authorities. So again, time will tell. China's implementation record on this and other issues is not great. But it is, I think, an important step forward and will be a test of whether this summit really, that the results from this summit can last and this relationship can stabilize.
So what do we make of the CEOs and the standing ovation? President Xi came to our country. That's nice. He's here. We're talking. We get the military. We need to do that. We don't want anything to accidentally happen or spiral out of control. What does it indicate? And China is an important market for these CEOs, but was that appropriate?
Well, it was interesting. No one expected the speech that he actually delivered to this CEO dinner. We all expected a speech where he would just talk about how great China's market is, all the steps they're taking to open the market, how China's open for business. What's interesting is that today in San Francisco at the CEO summit, where President Biden and other leaders and CEOs have spoken, Xi did not actually speak, but he submitted a written speech. And actually, based on what I've seen of that speech, that looks like the one he should have delivered to the dinner. But again, I think that a lot of businesses now they're just assessing the risks in their continued business operations in China. One speech is not going to lead them to say, great, let's run back to China, everything's great. Time will tell whether actual changes will happen.